Welcome to Yehoshua's Gematria-Time Daf Yomi Shiur, where in the end time, it's always a great time to learn Daf Yomi in Gematria-Time. And this is a new phase of Yehoshua's Daf Yomi Shiur. It's going through different phases over the years. It's going to be, God willing, going to be 3 years this October. It started right after October 7th, interestingly enough, about 10 days? Let's see, October 7th plus 11 is 18. Yeah, so 11 days after October 7th of 2023. Which is its own interesting thing, but there are different chapters in it, different phases. At first I read it only in English, and then I started reading it in the Aramaic, the Aramaic/Hebrew and the English, and then it had different names. Yehoshua, Sofer Chadash, it was for a long time, and now it is Yehoshua's Daf Yomi Shiur. And now within Yehoshua's Yehoshua, my name is Josh Leon, so Yehoshua, within Yehoshua's Daf Yomi Shiur, there's a new phase, a new segment in it. It's called Yehoshua's Gematria-Time Daf Yomi Shiur. And this is my new sort of like, the Yiddish word is knech. It's like knech. Certain Yiddish words are hard to translate exactly. Knech is like a fold, maybe like a spin. This is my own spin on it. I think knech literally means fold, but like if you fold it a certain way, that means you've put your mark on it. You folded it. So this is my new knech in Daf Yomi. It's that for those who have watched my videos, or those of you who know me, you know that I'm a big Gematria enthusiast, and I'd like to bring some of that to the table in the Daf Yomi. Maybe it's a new flavor to Daf Yomi, and the idea is that it's like, kind of like some years back, maybe Eli Stefanski is still doing this, but there was something called Yedias Hashas, like basic things, like fundamental, like Yisodos of Shas, like fundamental things, and he would go through them, like Kamlei Midrabimine, or all the basic things of Shas, and so called a Parish Medruba Parish, or Mechsori Mechsra, all these different things that come up in Shas over and over again. He would make a special segment of a shiur. So what I'm doing, not exactly like that, but I'm going to go through at least, let's say, 3 or 4 words that are very, very common, very, very common Gemara words, like Tana Rabbanan, let's say, or My Taima, or Kosok Daitach, or Hachinami, or or Hacha B'maya Skina, like really very, very common phrases. And those who are into Gematria really and go deep into Gematria, like everything is numbers, you'll see that words are numbers and numbers are words. They're the same thing. There's no difference between them. Because if you read a string of numbers and you see other words, it's like you're reading new words. And then if you know numbers well enough, and then you read a bunch of words, they can become numbers, and then you get a bunch of other information, like prime numbers and all kinds of stuff. So I'd like to bring that new flavor to the table with the Daf Yomi. So let's start, and it's very interesting that there's another layer of Gematria that people may not be aware of. It's called English Gematria. And people might think, what are you talking about? English Gematria? That's silly. It's not from the Lashon Kodesh. It's not holy. And you might want to think twice about that. When you analyze English very deeply. In fact, I saw this Yiddish guy from Belgium or something, Antwerp. I don't know. Maybe he's from Belgium, but I thought maybe he was just there. But his name is Meir Schwartz. He was talking about he was speaking in Yiddish, and he was darshaning. He was explaining on the secrets of English, of the secrets, the holy secrets of English, the letters and stuff. So it's a different video, but English has a lot of very deep things in it. and it's used in tandem, in conjunction with the Hebrew. And so this new faith is Chullin 98 is the daf today. Chullin 98, and it's very apropos because 98 is the English gematria of Josh Leon. That's my English name that I go by. People know me as Yehoshua or Joshua, but generally a lot of people know me as Josh Leon. Josh equals 52 and Leon equals 46. That's 98. And so it's interesting that I'm starting the Gematriatic Daf Yomi in Chullin 98, which is Gematria my name. And it's very, very interesting. So there's one example where English Gematria lines up very, very well. And sometimes you don't plan these things. Like I didn't plan to do this. Only last night did I plan it. But then I realized that yesterday was 97. So I said, wow. Today's 98 and that equals Josh Leon. I knew that for many years. But how do you calculate English Gematria? A equals 1, B equals 2, C equals 3. So in honor of this, I'll do the whole daf straight. And let's do the Gematria-Time Gematria. Okay, so welcome to Yehoshua's Gematria-Time Daf Yomi Shiur, where in the end times, it's always a great time to learn the Daf Yomi in Gematria-Time. That's the tagline. I was doing Yehoshua's Daf Yomi before. If you saw the previous Daf Yomis, it was where the daf is continuing the daf daily until the revelation. Where the daf continues daily until the complete revelation of Mashiach ben David. That was the. I might go back to that. I'm saying for now, it's in the end times. In this end time, it's always a great time to learn Daf Yomi in Gematria-Time. Chullin 98. So we have a very, very famous word. This daf, very famous. Maybe one of the most famous words in Shas, group of words. It's called Hacha b'mai askinan, which means what are we dealing with here? Hacha b'mai askinan equals 419 in regular gematria, and I'm going to do all regular gematrias because it's too much to do all the different ciphers and stuff. Just regular universal gematria. Okay, Hacha b'mai askinan equals 419, which incidentally is gematria ani Mashiach. Not ani, but I'm saying if Mashiach were to say that he's Mashiach, he would say ani Mashiach. It's 419, and Hacha b'mai askinan. It's actually the last few words of the previous daf, but it was very famous, and I think I include it. The next we have a word called esve. Esve means a question was asked. There's also beisve, similar, but esve, a question was asked, equals 438. And we have another word also very famous, midikatani seifa. We learned in the second part of either the Mishnah or the Brisa, midikatani seifa. That equals 755. And another word that might seem very famous, but I checked in my database and it only came up a few times. What would you think? Perushe kamafarish. Perushe kamafarish. It's explained that. It sounds very famous, right? But I checked, it only comes up a few times. It's only like a few times in Kedushin and once in Nazir and once today. Perushe kamafarish, and in Nazir it's actually Perushe mefarish. So it's interesting that something that looks so famous. So Perusha Kamafarish equals 1327, and Perusha Mefarish equals 1226. And with that, let us start on to our daf. Maybe when we get to those words, I'll announce them again. And let's see here. Keep the words open. That was a big intro. That was a 9-minute intro. Maybe I take that back. Maybe I won't do a whole full daf. Maybe I'll just do side A and then continue on to side B. So I retract that statement. I'm just going to do side A right now because it was such a long intro. But it's a very good intro because also Rabbi Wolf talked about something about 98. I would love to know what he said. He said something about 89, but he also said something about 98. Rabbi Reuven Wolf, he said something about Mashiach in 98, maybe the Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, something. Anyway, where were we? Where are we? Who are we? When are we? Right. Hacha b'maya skinon. Last three words of 97. Now top of 98a, top of the page. An egg that contains a chick, as a chick imparts flavor to the food in which the egg is cooked. But with regard to an egg that does not contain a chick, but is from a non-kosher bird, it does not impart flavor to the food with which it is cooked. Eisvei. There's that word again. Eisvei. What did we say Eisvei is? 438. 438. I used to know someone who lived on 438 North Formosa. I think it's him. Him or him? I don't know. Anyway. Eisvei. Lai. And a question was asked by Rabbi Idi Bar Avin. I guess it's going from before. Eisvei beisim to'ayra shishalok onim beisim t'meo beisim yesh benois b'tam kuna surois chachanam yim beisim efroich emai ko'elei t'meo kevon yislei bo'efroch ko'elei t'meo. Rabbi Idi Bar Avin raised an objection to this answer based on a bright and deceptive Trumot 9.5. With regard to kosher eggs, that one boil with the non-kosher eggs, if they have a ratio that allows the non-kosher eggs to impart flavor to the kosher eggs, they are all forbidden. This indicates that eggs from non-kosher birds do have flavor. Abaye answered here too is referring to an egg from a kosher bird that contains a chick. And why does the Braita call this a non-kosher egg, indicating that an egg from a non-kosher species, since it has a chick inside, which causes the egg to be forbidden, the Braita calls it non-kosher. Oh, this is the third word on our list, which equals 755. The Gemara objects from the fact that the latter clause teaches, that's the word, the latter clause teaches, with regard to eggs that when boiled and a chick was found in one of them, if they have a ratio that allows the chick to impart flavor to them, they are all forbidden. It may be inferred that in the first clause we are dealing with an egg that does not have a chick inside. Perushi Kamafarish, and that brings us to our final Gematriatic Gemara word. Perushi Kamafarish means it's explaining. The Gemara explains that this is an incorrect inference, as the latter clause is explaining Perushi Kamafarish, which equals 1327, and in Nazir it's the same version of that is 1226. Because the ka is 101. A Perushi Kamafarish beisim to'ayra shishalok beisim t'meos im yesh b'em benoisim tam kunosois keitzad kigoin shishalok nimtzavach b'yarad mehen. The Gemara explains that this is an incorrect inference, as the latter clause is explaining the first clause, so that the Braita should be read as follows. With regard to kosher eggs that one boiled with non-kosher eggs, if they have a ratio that allows the non-kosher eggs to impart flavor to the kosher eggs, they are all forbidden. How so? It can be referring to a case when one boiled them and a chick was found in one of them. Hachinami. I should have put that one. It's also very famous. Hachinami. Also. Hachinami mistavro. Dison kedai tochreisha de lesbo efroch. Ashte lesbo efroch. Asur is befroch maimaya. The Gemara adds, so too it is reasonable to explain the Braita in this manner, as if it would enter your mind to say that the first clause is referring to a case where there is no chick in the egg, the latter clause is redundant. Now that the Tana has taught that in a case where there is no chick inside, the non-kosher egg imparts flavor to the kosher eggs and renders them forbidden, it is necessary for the Tana to teach that an egg that has a chick inside imparts flavor to the kosher eggs. Resha de is ba efroch avales ba efroch shayetana sefa de is ba efroch miklan resha les ba efroch afiroch yasiha. The Gemara rejects this argument. If it is due to that reason, there is no conclusive argument, meaning the proof of the argument is inconclusive. The reason is that one can say that the Tana taught the latter clause to reveal the meaning of the first clause. The latter clause was stated so that you would not mistakenly say that the first clause is referring only to a case where the egg has a chick inside. But if there is no chick inside, the kosher eggs would be permitted. Therefore, the Tana teaches the latter clause and specifies that it is referring to an egg that has a chick inside. By inference, the first clause is referring to a case of an egg that does not have a chick inside. Even so, it renders all of the other eggs forbidden. Hahu kizes tarba b'nafal badik ula debisra savravasi l'shaore b'may dibla dikula amrile v'aban ravashi atu detera balabdi sura la balab. The Gemara continues discussing the obligation of forbidden foods. There was once a certain olive bulk of forbidden fat that fell into a pot of kosher meat. Ravasi thought to measure the volume of the kosher meat together with that which the pot had absorbed. The rabbi said to Ravashi, "Is that to say that the pot absorbed the permitted meat, but did not absorb the forbidden fat?" Mar Sorbar Ravashi Sor Bisalatin the Palgan is a summer leavua. Lavamina Lord is all the Bishion of Anan. Behold, Amar of Yochanan, Kasi Shiur, Asur Minatora. The Gemara relates a similar incident. There was once a certain half olive bulk of forbidden fat that fell into a pot of kosher meat. Marbar of Ashi thought to measure the amount of kosher meat needed to nullify the forbidden fat as 30 half olive bulks rather than 60. His father, Ravashi, said to him, "Have I not told you, do not treat measures lightly, even with regard to rabbinic prohibitions? And furthermore, didn't Rabbi Yochanan say a half measure is prohibited by Torah law? Consequently, the half olive bulk of forbidden fat is nullified only in 60 times its volume of permitted meat." Amar of Shem bar Amar of Idi bar Gershom. Wow, interesting. I didn't see one. Gershom. Amar Levi bar Prata. Amar of Nachum. Amar Biryam Mishum Zokim Echod. That's a big long list. Let's do it again. Amar of Idi bar Gershom. Amar Levi bar Prata. Amar of Nachman. Amar Rabbi Biryam Mishum Zakim Echad. V'Rabbi Yaakov Mishmei. This must be the longest pedigree of names. Devei Nasiya Amru. Wow. Let's do that again, okay? Amar of Idi bar Gershom, Amar Levi bar Prata, Amar of Nachum, Amar of Nachum, Amar Rabbi Biryam Mishum Zachin Echad, Rabbi Yaakov Shmei, Devei Nasiya Amru. They really didn't want to leave anyone out. Beisim Mishishi Masu Mishishi Machas Muteres. The Gemara continues its discussion of nullifying forbidden foods. Okay, ready? Rav Shimon bar Abba says that Rav Idi bar Gershom says that Levi bar Parata says that Rabbi Nachum says that Rabbi Biryam says in the name of a certain elder, and his name was Rabbi Yaakov. That the sages in the house of the Nasi said, if an non-kosher egg is mixed with kosher eggs, if there are 60 eggs, they're all forbidden. But if there are 61 eggs, they're all permitted. And both of those are Thursday numbers. Today's Thursday. Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani Teravai Mishmei Yehoshua Levi Amri Beit B'Shishim Asura Beit B'Shishim Yachas Muteres. Rabbi Zera said to Rishim Barabas, see, one can infer from your words that you fix a limit to permit the eggs. If there is a total of 61 eggs, including the non-kosher egg. This is a revelation because the two most eminent sages of the generation did not clarify this matter. The two eminent sages were Rabbi Yaakov bar Idi and Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, and both of them said in the name of Rabbi Yehoshua and Levi, in a case where a non-kosher egg is mixed with kosher eggs, if there are 60 eggs, they're all forbidden, but if there are 61 eggs, they're all permitted. Oy din malavar mine velo pashut umar peshet La mipsha, and a dilemma was raised before these sages. When Rabbi Yochanan ben Levi said they are permitted, if there are 61 eggs, does that mean there are 61 eggs altogether with a non-kosher egg, or does it perhaps mean that there must be 61 kosher eggs aside from the non-kosher egg? And they did not resolve this dilemma. But it doesn't say teku. Interesting. And yet it appears as though the master, Rav Shemin, has resolved the dilemma because you implied that the mixture is kosher if there are a total of 61 eggs, including the non-kosher egg. Itmar, Omar Vichelbo, Omar Avuna, Beitz B'Shishim, Yasuha B'Shishim Yachaz V'Himeteres. The Gemara continues. It was stated that Rabbi Chelbo says, that Rav Huna says, if a non-kosher egg becomes mixed with kosher eggs, if there are 60 kosher eggs in addition to that non-kosher egg, the entire mixture is forbidden. But if there are 61 kosher eggs in addition to that one non-kosher egg, the mixture is permitted. There was a certain person who came before Rabban Gamliel bar Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi with a half olive bulk of non-kosher food that had been mixed with a larger amount of kosher food. Rabban Gamliel said to him, a similar case before my father, and even though he did not measure the kosher food as being 60 times the volume of the non-kosher food, he nevertheless permitted the mixture due to the fact that there was 47 times as much kosher food as non-kosher food. And similarly, I will permit the mixture because I measure that the kosher food is 45 times the volume of the non-kosher food. Similarly, there was a certain person who came before Rabbi Shimon bar Rabbi Yehuda Nasi with a mixture of kosher and non-kosher food. Rabbi Shimon said to him, a similar case came before my father, and even though he did not measure the kosher food as being 60 times the volume of non-kosher food, he nevertheless permitted the mixture due to the fact that there was 45 times as much kosher food as the non-kosher food. And similarly, I will permit the mixture because I measure that the kosher food is 43 times the volume of the kosher food. So is that his brother? Rabbi Gamliel and Shimon, I guess. Both sons of Rabbi Yehuda and Nasi. Okay. There was a certain man who came from Chia with a mixture of kosher and non-kosher food. Chia said to him, is there even 30 times the volume of permitted food as forbidden food? Clearly the mixture is forbidden. The Gemara seeks to clarify. This indicates that the reason that he prohibited the mixture is that there was not 30 times as much kosher food as non-kosher food. But it may be inferred that if there is 30 times as much kosher food as non-kosher food, one may assess and permit the mixture. And this contradicts the halacha that non-kosher food is nullified only in a mixture containing 60 times as much kosher food as non-kosher food. Rabbi Hanina said, Rabbi Chia did not make this statement to set a halachic principle, but merely as an exaggeration. There was not even 30 times the volume of kosher food, so it was obvious that the mixture was forbidden. כל איסורים שבתוך רבי שישים אמר לפניו רבי שמואל בר רבי יצחק רבי אתה אומר כן הכי אמר ועשי אמר רבי יהושע בן לוי משום בר כפרה כל איסורים שבתוך רבי מאיר Rabbi Chia bar Abba says, or Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, in the name of Bar Kapara, all the forbidden foods in the Torah are nullified when they are mixed with with kosher food that is 60 times their volume. Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yitzchak said before Rabbi Chia bar Abba, my teacher, you say this, citing Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, who said that Bar Kapara said it, but this is what Ravasi says, that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, in the name of Bar Kapara, all the forbidden foods in the Torah are nullified when they're mixed with kosher food that is 100 times their volume. ושניהם לא למדוה אלא מזרוע בשאלה דכסיב ולקח הכהן זרוע בשאלה וגו. Betanya בשאלה. The Gemara adds, and both of them learned the principles of nullification only for one term. cooked foreleg, as is written with regard to the Nazarite's ram, and the priest shall take the cooked foreleg of the ram, Numbers 6:19. It is taught in a Braita. The verse states cooked. Okay, we'll stop here and continue on with the next Amud.